On this week's episode, was Comic-Con at home worth staying home for? A Halo graphics debate arises. And do we really need video game crowd noise? All this and more as we rev up our motorcycle and once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, the Lakers Fast Break, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And if you get a chance, please give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or if you can go ahead and like, follow, subscribe, share, or when we're doing our gaming videos like this one, you could throw us some stars at us. That would be truly appreciated from all of us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos.
Let's just clarify real quick.
Okay.
Stars, Facebook stars, not ninja stars, okay? I know how some people take things literally. So we don't throw ninja stars at us, but like the Facebook stars. Click on those. That's what we want.
Can I throw a ninja star at you?
Yeah, I mean, that would be quite the throw, but yeah. I bought some from a swap meet one time, and they're easy to hurt yourself with. So also on that note, be careful.
Well, it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He's our own great white shark for Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to do what he's doing. You got to check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com. Also, as well, his great shows, Topicocalypse and the Super BS Gamescast. And of course, everything that he does with his book, Congratulations, You Suck, which is now available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It is my good friend. It is Josh, Jaws, just for this time only, Josh Pederson. What's up, man?
So speaking of sharks, did you ever play the LucasArts game Armed and Dangerous back on the original Xbox?
Heard of it, never played it. Although I do want to give a big shout out to Jaws on his 45th anniversary. So just wanted to go ahead and that's most likely one of the reasons why you're wearing the shirt today.
I am, yeah. Classic movie. Not a huge fan of Jaws 3, but Jaws 1 and 2 were pretty decent. But anyways, back to my thing. There's a gun actually in Armed and Dangerous that shoots sharks out, and it plays the Jaws music in the background. So we need more things like that is what the point I'm trying to make here. Also, Universal Studios still has the Jaws thing up and running, so good for them. Check that out when the COVID stuff's over, and happy anniversary, Jaws.
Absolutely. Happy anniversary indeed. And if you guys want to, I try and reach out to one of the writers of Jaws. I can always do that. Our great guy, PR rep, Steve Joyner, he has access to that. So if you guys want me to, reach out to me on at Pop Culture Cosmos on Twitter, or at Pop Culture Cosmo on Twitter, or popculturecosmos@yahoo.com, and I'll go ahead and I can set something up on an interview if you guys are interested in, and we'll be glad to do so right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So,
do you ever get sore from like flexing the I know people muscles? Is that a?
Well, Steve Joyner is a really good guy, really great PR rep. He knows a lot of good people out there, but no, you can never know enough good people in this world. So
that's true. It's all about networking. You'd be surprised at who you might know that might know somebody. That's how this podcast has worked, right? You know, we've kind of known people, got interviews. That's how I got to interview one of my favorite bands. So it never hurts to network.
Well, I'll tell you what, my friend, in answer to a question before we went on the air from Rob McCallum, the answer is he can figure it out by watching items decrease. Just to let you know. That was the answer. So it's an answer by not answering it. That sounds like a politics answer. But anyways,
I didn't ask him in person because I knew he wouldn't tell me.
You won't tell me either, so it's not a problem at all. But we are going to have a great show today. We're going to be talking about a lot of great things, including a wrap-up of Comic-Con. And was it the same for Comic-Con at home? And did it have the same time appeal now that could just a whole bunch of people could see what was going on at Comic-Con? Plus, also as well, we're going to be talking about video game crowd noise. Do you really need it in your sporting events? We'll talk about that at the back end of the show. I'll have some impressions of Sisters Royale, which I've actually got right here loaded up on the Xbox One. Got some impressions of that. And I also, with Josh, he's got a game that he's currently playing through. I'm playing through Sisters Royale. He's playing through another game, Crosscode. And we're going to have more detailed thoughts on the Friday program as well. Plus, I've got a great guest on. And I had an interview with Jared Weems from Weems Motor Company. If you're interested and you have a motorcycle, specifically a British Triumph motorcycle that you need restored to its best quality and actually even better than new, best place to go is Weems Motor Company. So he talks about his background in motorcycle restoration, and we want to give again a big shout out to one of our biggest fans, Nancy Weems, for allowing me to go ahead and interview Jared on that. So we truly appreciate it. So that interview is coming up for everybody that's listening on radio and of course on our audio podcast as well. But my friend, why don't you go ahead, and you've been shouting out this over the past few days on social media, your thoughts on the Halo graphics debate. I first want to go ahead and clarify the competition between the two, Xbox and PlayStation, on their various events. Okay, I was a little short on the number of games that were announced from Xbox, because if you include the indie games, the number rises up to 22. So it's about 36, 37 announced for PlayStation and about 22 announced for Xbox. A little bit better as far as the difference is concerned, but Xbox still needs a little bit more variance and more titles shouted out there. But the biggest one of all, Halo Infinite, is getting a lot of flack at this point in time.
So see that right there, that's part of the problem, right? Because you have people saying, oh, well, Xbox didn't show enough games. And they showed around the same number as PlayStation did, but people don't want to count because they don't want Xbox to win. People say, oh, Xbox only makes first-person shooters. So Xbox goes, okay, well, we'll make some RPGs. And then people goes, well, those ones belong to Sony in the first place. You know, they can't win. These news media outlets attack them relentlessly. And it's so sad. Like the internet has so many opinions and ideas on this whole thing, and nobody I don't know. It frustrates me, man. I'm sorry. I can go on and on about this, but
please do. We've got an hour show.
I've stopped reading things because it's pointless. Like you look at all the comment sections, like even in the stuff about Halo, people are like, well, it's not Horizon, it's not God of War. God of War and Halo, or no, God of War and Horizon so much better. Like do you listen to yourself? Like seriously, it's like, I'm sorry. I need to stop. But,
actually, it would be kind of cool if you did that voice. Did that voice for a whole hour. That would be awesome.
Yeah, these Sony fanboys dragging their little stone bats around like cavemen.
Hey. A lot of those Sony fanboys listen and watch our shows, so please. Gotta stay on the fence, man. Gotta stay on both sides.
I'm just getting some frustrations out here. But anyways, as for the Halo thing, I don't understand. Like I thought that it looked okay, but they didn't have the 4K and ray tracing turned on. So I forget what they interviewed the guy who was in charge of putting that presentation together, and I forget what he said. There's some reason that sounded pretty legitimate, but if you go on YouTube now, you can watch like the upgraded the upgraded demos up there now, and it looks a lot better. But I think the game looks okay. I don't know what people are comparing it to. They're dealing with a new color palette, new engine. We have, and also okay, I actually want to talk to you about this. What did they say? They said like this is the platform for the next 10 years of Halo, right? So this game is going to be constantly evolving, and they said it's not a game like what do they call it, the live service game, but it's just like I'm assuming it's going to be like Waypoint, and how they kept adding content on the Waypoint, or like Halo 4, right? Remember they kept doing more Spartan Ops stuff on there. I assume it's going to be something like that. We'll see, but they said the graphics are going to keep improving even up to launch. So I think that maybe they should not have shown a trailer so prematurely if it wasn't ready. But definitely,
Well,
if
again,
you're
it comes back to first impressions. First impressions are the best ones to give. And as you know, with the consoles, and when they do these releases and when they do these announcements before the console even comes out, first impressions are usually the most memorable. I mean, you and I both at that PlayStation 4 press conference from E3 still remember the sharing, that handing one disc to the other Sony rep, a Sony exec from one Sony exec, and still remember that as a big smack on Xbox that lasted for a long time. You have those first impressions. You got to make the best of them, man. You got to.
Yeah, you do. I also like, like I said though, I feel like people we're already going to the Microsoft conference wanting to say that Sony was better before the conference even started. So
I didn't. I
know,
want
and I'm not.
Xbox.
Yeah, I'm not saying you did. I just it seems to be the attitude of a lot of video game journalists. You look at like the kind of funnies, the IGNs, the Polygons, like the Kotaku. Kotaku wrote an article blasting Microsoft before the conference was even finished. Like they can't win. Yeah, they make mistakes. And Sony, look at Sony's conference. A lot of what they talked about were a lot of their main stuff was like sequels and reboots, and that's just, it's not if Microsoft would have done that, that would have been the complaint. Well, it's all just sequels and reboots, and it's they can't win. Like, it doesn't matter what they show, Microsoft will not be able to win with the press.
Okay, and I just want to clarify: we both have.
I have both consoles.
I have
like
all
them
three.
Both. Yeah, I like Sony. I like Sony. I like Microsoft both. I just don't like some of the rivalry kind of agitates me because I don't understand it.
And what have I constantly said about the best console model of this past generation of the three: Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch? Which console model did I say was the best? For value for the money, Xbox One S. So I've said that out, and I will say that again. For the money, it was the best one because it did the most things. It had the 4K Blu-ray, the whole 9 yards, and it had at a budget price. So to me, I thought that was the best option. So I'm, again, as someone who appreciates all the consoles, in fact, I've been called a Nintendo hater from point time, but I even now have a Nintendo Switch, and I think it's a great system. So I am telling you right now, I'm just telling you, I'm leaning towards PlayStation, but then again, Xbox still has a great time to, and a lot of time to go ahead and make up for that because they have some good games. Avowed from Obsidian looks incredible. I mean, that they should have gone ahead and gone more into because Obsidian is that company that a lot of people, a lot of gamers like, but they're not as well known to the general audience. But my gosh, they've made some fantastic games, and they could use really a high profile release, and Avowed could be just that.
Yeah, Avowed looks amazing. Well, and here's my thoughts. Man, back to the console thing. Like I haven't decided which one I'm gonna get yet. Obviously I can get Halo Infinite on Xbox One. So really, if there's a console that has at least 3 games that I'm interested in at launch, then I'll probably end up with that one. And it could be PlayStation, could be Xbox. I just like I want to give both a fair chance.
Sounds good. You know what? I'm going to give both a fair chance as well. We're giving all three a fair chance on the current systems because, again, I'm looking at all three of mine right now. So I'm telling you what, right? It's still plenty of time left in this game. Plenty of time to go ahead and decide which one you want. Plus, availability is also going to be an issue, and that's something that they don't really talk about: price, availability, and also street date. Yeah. So, there's still much to talk about when it comes to the console wars and the next console generation. Halo, to me, it looks pretty good, but again, it doesn't look amazing, which a lot of people were hoping for. I mean, we've seen YouTube videos out there that breaks everything down on the graphics, like bit by bit by bit. Oh my gosh, this doesn't look as good as Halo 5, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, there's pop in here, and I thought Xbox Series X was supposed to prevent that, et cetera, et cetera. It looks good. And does it play well? Does it bring something new to the Halo genre? I think that's something that I think a lot of people are looking more towards than does it have the cutting edge graphics? I mean, they're going to leave that to Forza and some of the other games, I think, as far as that's concerned, because
and that's not to say that Halo shouldn't look good. To me,
no.
The most important thing about Halo has always been the narrative to me. I've always thought that they were amazing storytellers. Granted, 5 wasn't my favorite, but you kind of notice that the graphical abilities, I guess, of the franchise took a huge turn at 4, right? You had 4 and 5 where just the game looked totally different. So I wonder if they're trying maybe to get back to what Halo used to be, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I mean, people have to give it. And and granted, the screenshots were not flattering that came out of that conference for the game, but I mean, I think people just need to give it a chance, because who knows, at launch this could be a completely different beast. And granted, Microsoft should have probably thought about what that was going to do, but I don't think that it's worth all the hate that it's getting.
Exactly. And I don't think it is either. And I did say on Friday's PCC Multiverse, I was a little bit disappointed in what they had to offer. I thought they should have given you more, especially because they're the one coming after PlayStation 5, because PlayStation 5 went first, so you know what to expect. And I thought they didn't quite give you what they needed to give you, but they're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, and I agree, and I'm hoping we'll get to see more games before launch, or even maybe they'll do another conference that'll give us the street date, of the console itself. But it's there's going to be more. There has to be more, and I'm sure Halo, there's going to be more Halo stuff being released as it gets closer to its launch date.
Absolutely. And we'll keep updating you right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source on Facebook. So you're always going to get the latest info, the latest news items. So please go ahead and do so. Follow us, like our pages today. Facebook, you can go ahead right there and just like us if possible. Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. Well, my friend, there was also much more to talk about when it concerns Comic-Con. Comic-Con at home, past few days. Some interesting things, tidbits here and there, but nothing earth-shattering. There was no real trailer that rocked the world, or people were just all over the globe and the internet or social media talking about. I mean, there was great updates on The Boys, which got renewed for season 3, even before season 2 came out. I loved that trailer. Absolutely loved the trailer that they showed off. I don't know if you've seen it yet. All I will say is it was a whale of a good time as far as that trailer is concerned. So hopefully you will get a chance to see that if you haven't already. Rick and Morty, just updating you on season 5 and season 6. Archer, I believe on season 11, they showed the latest trailer for that. They had Bill and Ted. They had Benicio del Toro. They had so many different panels that were there that were very interesting. But without DC and Marvel there, as we suspected, or at least I suspected anyways, it didn't have that oomph that I think Comic-Con, especially in its first year trying this virtual at home because of obviously COVID reasons, that it really needed to get.
Yeah, it's well, you're not there, like I said last on the multiverse, it's the atmosphere that really does it for people, being able to dress up and like see all the comic books of it. It just, the atmosphere, it electrifies you, and that's something that I think showing just in online video stuff seems to lack. Did you happen to catch the Constantine 15-year anniversary stuff at all?
Well, that's why I left it in the show notes right here, my friend, because Keanu Reeves got a chance to sit down with also the creators of the movie Constantine. Yeah. And obviously the most interesting news of that was that they had sequels in mind, which brings up the slight possibility now in a streaming environment where content of any kind is needed that could be of interest to people out there. Could this revive interest in a Constantine sequel? I mean, at the time, they said that the studio passed on it because they really didn't know what they had, even though it did earn a profit. It didn't earn a huge profit, but it did earn a profit. But the studio really couldn't think, just it was kind of weird for them. And
They
I can
didn't
understand why.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, anytime you're dealing with spiritual things, I can totally understand people wanting to stay away from that, especially back when that movie came out, right? Because that was before, all the progressive stuff we see today. So you have a lot of like Christian moms sitting at home going, no, no, no. And those are the kids that would probably go to see the movie, the kids who sat at home reading Hellblazer comics or Hellboy or whatever it might
I
be.
think it's a little different now.
Yeah, the atmosphere is definitely a lot different. I think Constantine 2 could be very successful today, especially if they just the dark tones of the film. I think it could tie easily into something that already exists, and I know they're talking about doing a Justice League Dark movie or something streaming on HBO Max, and they could easily carry Keanu Reeves over onto something like that. I feel like that
Can't
could
afford
be
him. Can't afford him on something like that. I would say that they would do a Constantine 2 movie separate from having him in Justice League Dark. I don't think.
Keanu Reeves is a man of the people. I feel like he would consider it at least.
Okay, he'll consider it at least. Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
One of the other things that was funny was the fact that they were very kind of close-lipped about whether or not they had asked him to bleach his hair and talk with a British accent.
Yeah.
You see, they were asking about that, and he started laughing.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm hopeful. Do you want a Constantine 2? I would love to see one. I thought that Keanu Reeves and Rachel Weisz, that was a very, very great movie, and it had a really great soundtrack scored by featuring A Perfect Circle. James Maynard Keenan did some music.
Love that theme. Love the Constantine theme.
Yeah.
So I just absolutely love it. The movie itself was good, and I have rewatched it at least 2 or 3 times since. One of my daughters was trying to watch a couple minutes of it, and she didn't really get it. But to me, it was a good movie. It wasn't a great movie because I think the pacing was just a little slow.
Yeah. So have you ever read
It has its own vibe, and the problem is the vibe is slow.
It is a slow. Well, have you ever read the Hellblazer comics?
Yeah, a little bit.
So a lot of those, a lot of the dialogue, it's taking place in Constantine's head. So he's like thinking about things, and then when he actually acts on them, it's like an episode of Supernatural, and like you have the investigation. I think they're trying to. The world of Hellblazer is huge, and I think the problem was they're trying to take too much of that world and condense it into an 1.5-hour movie, and it didn't really. Well, it was good. There was a lot more that could be explored in like 2 or 3. Having the thing with Chaz and Papa Midnight, like those are all characters that have a lot of development that still could happen. Assuming Shia LaBeouf would come back and do the part, which
that's
I don't
also
know
a tough
feel
gig.
about. Yeah,
well, he's kind of dead.
He was in a movie, right? And he tattooed himself just for this movie, and then it turns out that he didn't actually need to show the tattoos.
Yeah, that was correct. But he's actually, spoiler alert, and I'm sorry if I'm giving away a 15-year-old movie, but he's kind of dead in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie he is dead. Yeah, so
you don't really need him back.
Yeah, but I mean, it is a movie that revolves around like supernatural things, so they could easily bring him back, but I don't know. Chaz also has a daughter, so I mean that could be something they could play around with too.
Yeah, I just would love to see Rachel Weisz and Keanu Reeves get back together. And they were kind of awkward, their relationship and how it ended and whatnot, or was it continuing, or how, a lot of that stuff going on there. So it was kind of like, I'd like to see this, see if that something could brew out of that, or maybe not, or how that works. Or the dagger was supposed to be deep, lost and put somewhere where Keanu Reeves wouldn't know, even Keanu Reeves himself wouldn't know where it is. And
Can we talk for a minute about Gavin Rossdale, like how he owned that part? I forget what his character's name was, but like for someone who had never been in films before, who had only done Bush music videos, like he was pretty good. He was pretty good.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, I agree. But Constantine, you never know. The rumors and murmurs, let them start now, my friend, because everyone out there, if you want to go ahead and have a Constantine back in your life with Keanu Reeves, doesn't hurt to start that campaign right now, because there was sequels that were being planned as the movie was being made. The studio really didn't get the concept of Constantine once it came out, but they sure want it now when it comes to, like you said, Josh, Justice League Dark for HBO Max. Could there be another Constantine on the way? Who knows? But overall, your impressions of Comic-Con at home, and just want to hear your final thoughts on if you can go ahead and be something in the future a lot better than what it was, I think, this past few weeks. I mean, if you past few days, because it was okay, but the problem is it was just okay.
Yeah, that's where I stand. It was just okay. I wasn't like hyped about anything. There wasn't any big announcements or anything like that. I did enjoy it. Did this take place at Comic-Con? The Zack Snyder talking about
Yes,
stuff?
and that's the other thing. Zack Snyder did show off footage, a little bit more footage from the Zack Snyder cut, and there was a lot of commenting, bashing on Joss Whedon, obviously because the way he treated people on the set. And Zack Snyder did say he would not use one frame of the footage that Joss Whedon shot for the film. He would rather burn the whole, the whole Zack Snyder cut before going ahead and do that. And I get that, and I understand that. But the actors were still bashing Joss Whedon when he was there. In fact, so much so that he had his own panel for another thing, and that got canceled very quietly. But yeah, Zack Snyder showed off a little bit more from the Snyder cut. It goes a little bit more into dark side, and I really kind of think I'm going to be very interested in it. Now, we're still not 100% sure how it's going to weigh out, whether it's not going to be a series or whether it's going to be a movie, because right now it's totaling between 4 and 5 hours ish, I think, is what they're talking about in overcross hints on social media. So we'll see how the Zack Snyder cut lays out, but I'm very interested to see what's going on with that, because, I mean, for now, a lot of people can go ahead with the movement that they created with the Zack Snyder cut and get that finally off their chest. And so when it arrives in 2021, people can get the original vision that Zack Snyder saw in the Justice League.
Well, I'm hopeful. One, let me talk about his comments for a second. Like I applaud that. Like there's a lot of passion in his storytelling. Like he is, say what you want about Batman versus Superman or Man of Steel, the man is very passionate about the story that he was trying to tell. And my hope is that Justice League, the Snyder cut, will be successful enough for him to continue on. And whether or not that storytelling overlaps what's being done in, with Aquaman and Wonder Woman, I don't know, but I would love to see the end of his story come to fruition, even if they have to find somebody else to play Batman. I would love to see. I don't know. I just love to see the rest of that tale being told. As for the Joss Whedon stuff, I don't really know anything about. I mean, I heard that Ray, what's his name, that plays Cyborg. I heard he was unhappy with a lot of that.
Extremely unhappy. He was
Yeah.
Treated very poorly, in his own words, by Joss Whedon on the set when Joss Whedon took over, and he has no love lost and has admitted so in the past few weeks in regards to the relationship that he had, or lack thereof, with Joss Whedon. And basically, it's just, there it is. It's gotten to the point where, like I said, Joss Whedon can't do anything now because he's getting a lot of flack on social media. Joss Whedon had a panel set up at Comic-Con and had to cancel it because of this controversy.
Well, what makes me curious about the whole thing is that neither he nor anyone on his team has reached out to like deny any of these allegations. So that's what makes me wonder about the whole thing. But
no, that's what Ray Fisher said.
Yeah,
sue me for slander. If that's the case. So
yeah. So I don't know. But I mean, I'm glad that we are seeing like the true Justice League vision coming to life, and I'm glad that Zack Snyder seems very, very fired up about this. And like, that's why I'm so excited, because when I see an artist creating something and they're stoked about it, that makes me excited to watch it.
But again, like I said, I mean, Ray Fisher's speaking the truth, because we haven't heard any type of retaliatory or just any type of bad words back from Joss Whedon in regards to this, really, to any extent. And he's challenged Joss Whedon on the way he was treated, and basically said, if you want to go ahead and sue me for slander, go for it, because what I'm saying is the truth. So a lot of issues there still when it comes to Joss Whedon, and I think he's regretting the day he ever signed that contract with Warner Brothers.
Well, I'm wondering if there's, with this stuff coming to light, I wonder if it's only a matter of time before, stuff from the Avengers comes to light, or if they were forced to sign like NDAs for things that happened on set. Because if that's the case, then, this could be a lot bigger than we think it is.
This is true, my friend. This is true. But again, your overall impressions of Comic-Con, was it a still can't miss event?
No. It was okay. And I'm sure over time, these videos that they're posting will get more and more views. But I think people love Comic-Con because of the act of being there, being able to dress up, being in the midst of all those people who have not showered in 3 days. And like the people, hawking their goods, selling comic books, selling manga, selling toys, action figures, whatever it might be. Getting, Square is usually there, and you get to get your hands on their latest games and demos and whatever it might be. And even just the act of like, all these comic book booths are there, and people go with their submissions and they drop them in the box, because this is what they've been waiting for all year. They've been working on these comic book scripts, and they're able to give them to people. That's not happening. So, I mean, if you're there strictly for content, then yes, that type of person will really get a lot out of this. But as for the entire Comic-Con experience, it's a very shallow reflection of what it is in person.
I mean, when you get to your Sunday and you see it's the celebration of TMNT's 30th anniversary, as opposed to how you really would normally see the weekend close out on a high note with a Marvel or a DC or a high-profile property that is really going to garner some interest around the world, it's kind of a different shock to the system as far as seeing what Comic-Con is right now. It's still a major place for all these other entities to go to. And I think we're still going to see a lot of great shows and places to go for all these different independent or even studios, as far as to come there and show off their wares. But, if Marvel and DC, they go ahead and do their own thing continuously going forward like they're going to, that's going to be a bad sign for Comic-Con as a premier event down the road.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and hopefully the hope is that once the COVID stuff gets under control, that we'll be able to go back to having people all gather again. But, who knows when that will happen. So I guess you just gotta kind of make do with what you can do at the moment.
What are your thoughts out there on Comic-Con at home? Did you enjoy it? How much did you watch? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Plus, also send us your thoughts on the continuous Halo Infinite debate. Were you worried about the graphics? Is it not up to your expectations? And are you leaning one way or the other when it comes to Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Plus, also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. And Pop Culture Cosmos on TikTok as well. Coming up next, we've got Jared Weems from Weems Motor Co. The interview I did with him, talking about all the great stuff that he's doing. Then after that, Josh and I are going to talk about video game crowd noise. Do we need it in our real sports today? We're going to share that debate coming up here in a sec. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. Want to thank Jared Weems for joining us today. If you're listening on to us worldwide on radio and also as well any of our audio podcast outlets, want to thank him so much for joining us today. Go ahead and support his great causes with his raffle that he announced and gave us the sneak peek on starting August 1st. So you want to check out WeemsMotorco.com. go ahead and be part of the great raffle. It's going to a great cause, a great charity, and I cannot thank him enough for stopping by on the program. But before we head on out, my friend, again, I want to tell everybody, if you get a chance, there's a great game that's out. It's called Sisters Royale. I know it's kind of a funky name for people out there, but if you're interested in those top-down shooters with kind of like a JRPG look, I tell you what, this is a place to go. Sisters Royale, had a lot of fun with it. I'm going to have a deeper review of it with Josh as he reviews his game, Crosscode, coming up on our Friday program. But my initial impressions is it's a lot of fun. Hopefully going to be able to stream a lot more out there of Sisters Royale. I'm looking forward to doing so here in the coming few days. Looking forward to it. But my initial impressions are that if you want a great top-down shooter, this might be the place to go. Sisters Royale. Available now for Switch, available now for Steam, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4. It's Sisters Royale. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. But my friend, before we head on out, I want to talk about video game crowd noise. All right, here we go, my friend. The NBA is coming back into session. I'm so excited. I've been talking a lot about it with a ton of great guests on the Lakers Fast Break. I've done I think I'm going to close in on 20 to 23 podcasts for the month of July for the Lakers Fast Break with some great interviews, all very relevant, so check it out. But one thing that I did touch on, especially with Laker Tom from Lakerholics.com, is the crowd noise that's piped in because, you know, they're in the confines of a bubble in Orlando, Florida, as far as the Disney World, ABC, Wide World of Sports complex, and there's no crowd there, so they're piping in with certain broadcasts. Some broadcasts are choosing not to, some are, and the ones that are piping in crowd noise allegedly, and actually they've, I think, admitted this too in some occasions, from NBA 2K as far as the crowd noise is concerned. So you hear this murmur, you hear this murmur. You don't hear any highs or lows. You just keep hearing this murmur. LeBron James, slam dunk, hear this murmur. Takes away from the ambiance of the game, personally, for me. I cannot stand it. It's really irritating to me. And I think a lot of other people are saying the same thing as well. But the worst part about it is, my friend, is not only the NBA is doing it, but NHL is going to be taking sounds from EA NHL games. And the fact that maybe too that the NFL might be taking it from Madden. So I want to hear your thoughts on, should the real sports world take the crowd noise from the video game sports world?
Absolutely not.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you.
This is like giving having your own like studio audience. Like, it's just recording.
The laugh
like,
reel.
It just doesn't. Why? What's it going to do for anybody? What's it going to do for the players? What's it going to do? The viewers don't care about what's happening in the stands. It's not going to make them any more or less excited to watch it. It's there to see the other one team play another. They don't really care. Who is it for? Like, that's the big question that I have.
I don't know why they geniuses at the powers that be, they thought it would be a good idea. It's lame. The broadcasts and the outlets that are using it to pipe in that music in post-production while the game is going on, it's just lame. You know, I understand that there's a delay and they can pipe that in there, but it's just awful. Oh, they need to get rid of it like yesterday.
It's like a Michael Crichton scenario, right? Just because you have the power to do something, should you do it?
Yeah, exactly. It's irritating, my friend. I mean, I'm watching an NBA game, and I can clearly tell you that I enjoy so much more when I hear the squeak of the sneakers, the shouting of plays, the calling out of defensive schemes, the bench for opposing team. When let's say a bench for one team, their player really does good, they're up in arms. You can hear them shout. You can hear them cheering their teammates on. That I enjoy. What I don't enjoy is the constant.
I wonder if this is kind of a way to like conceal. I don't know if you've ever listened to like the mic'd up trash talk in the NHL, but I mean, I wonder if this is their way of concealing like just the pure onslaught of swear words that come out of some of these players' mouths, because then they wouldn't be able to broadcast it. It wouldn't be according to standards. So on some sports games, it does slip occasionally. You hear a player like spout the F word or say the S word or something, but I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
It might, but it's still very disappointing. And they have, remember, up to a 10-second delay that they can utilize. I know the 7-second delay is quite often referred to, but these networks, they have that delay. They have the dump button. They have someone there that's supposed to be being paid an amount to hit that button. And I've heard on Twitter already, for Carmelo Anthony from the Portland Trailblazers is probably the best example of someone who, if you get the live feed, the actual live raw feed, you can actually hear the swearing. And there was a famous one where he gets a rebound and told everybody to F off and I've got it. And he took the ball up court. But when you're hearing this, as far as either from the outlets, as far as these either regional sports outlets or even the national, I have not heard too much of that yet. And again, you have that delay, you have that dump button. There is no need for this awful crowd noise.
Yeah, it goes back. In the NHL, like some of the mic'd up talk is pretty funny, like just them insulting each other about their beards and stuff. But at the end of the day, it really makes me wonder, who's this for? Who asked for this? Who even thought about doing something like this? Because I find the sports noise annoying even in sport games. It's who is it for?
It's for the person that played 2K before they went ahead and turned on the show. What are your thoughts out there on piped in crowd noise from video games, inflicting us with it in real sports games? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. My friend, it's been a great episode, but before we head on out, can you give everybody a taste on what you've been doing with Crosscode? Just initial early impressions, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it's so far I'm liking it. It's just it's like a RPG on a like smaller scale. So I'm gonna get some more thoughts down on paper, and I'll have some video stuff on it. I am enjoying it. It feels like I would enjoy it on a Switch. But it's so far I'm digging it so far.
Once again, we're going to talk about more Sisters Royale and Crosscode, plus all the latest pop culture news and trends coming up on our Friday episode, The PCC Multiverse. Any last thoughts on the way out, my friend? Because it's been just a tremendous episode, but I know I hit you up with that Crosscode, but did you have any more thoughts on the way out?
Not at the moment. I think I'm good. I am really excited about that Snyder cut though. So, hopefully the rest ends up being just as good as I'm hoping it'll be. But yeah, if you haven't checked out that clip, definitely go do that.
Justice indeed, my friend. Justice indeed. Everybody check out, if you get a chance, we truly appreciate it, our Facebook Live videos, all the stuff that we do on social media, at Pop Culture Cosmo on Twitter, Pop Culture Cosmos, everywhere you get your social media. And of course, if you get a chance, check out all the stuff that we're doing at the Lakers Fast Break, the Super BS Gamescast, and of course, right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Josh Pederson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great